Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day. Welcome to today's episode of How You're Getting Fucked. I'm your host, Louis Rossmann. I don't usually make videos that are designed for young children or early teens, but this one is, and it's going to be an awkward subject. I had a few back and forths with some people from New Zealand, and I hope these were really awkward emails because they were telling me that they have cameras installed in their bathroom at their school. And I remember saying, I prove it. I don't mean, it's not that I don't believe you, it's just that's so outlandish to me as a 37-year-old man that grew up in a society where that was just so far outside the Overton window. And we often hear about countries like New Zealand that have certain more progressive ideologies than we do, where I would imagine that you would not take part in this type of dystopian garbage. I just said, I want proof of this. And the person messaged me back, is like, wait, so you're asking for me to take a video inside my bathroom? And I realized, okay, like I'm a grown man asking a minor to videotape their bathroom. Like, this is going to be awkward, but I said, your principal's doing it anyway, right? So if this is true, there's a bunch of other people. I just want proof of it. Anyway, I had to look this up a little bit online because and apparently this is a thing. And the New Zealand Herald, Northland students discussed it after security cameras installed in their high school toilets. This is another article, it's about 2 years old, claiming that there is overwhelming support from parents for cameras in schools' bathrooms. And here is a video that I'm going to show you that was taken by a student of a New Zealand high school. That is a camera inside of the bathroom. Now, the defense that they've been making thus far is that it is not inside the stall, so why do you care? And I think it's obvious why you should care, because we have, for the most part, throughout our entire society, no matter what restaurant you go, it doesn't matter if you're going to the ritziest place in the Upper East Side or a place in Brownsville or East New York. It doesn't matter where you go. The richest restaurants in the richest neighborhoods or the places in the highest crime parts of where I used to live in. You never saw a fucking camera inside of the bathroom. That was just a no-no. And we've become used to this as a society, that the bathroom is a place where you have some degree of privacy. You're not going to see a camera there. And to insert that camera there is just slowly moving the Overton window a little bit while people are young, and more importantly, where they cannot opt out, getting them used to the idea that they're being watched all the time. When I was a kid and I would go into the bathroom at my school, I felt like I had the time to collect myself. There wasn't an aide there. There wasn't a camera there. I didn't feel like I was being watched. And I don't know how you felt as a kid, but when I entered the bathroom, if I went to the bathroom during class, the moment I entered it, I felt different than I did in the hallway. Not just because I was about to relieve myself. I just felt this feeling of, I could, wash my hands, I look in the mirror, I collect myself for 10 or 15 seconds, and then I go back outside to where I feel like I now have to be on. I have to make sure that I have the right reactions, the right looks if somebody comes by and says hi to me, or the right reaction if somebody tries to bully me or something like that. Whereas in the bathroom, it always felt like that was my sacred space. And having a camera in there changes it, because you believe that now you are being watched in that place. And even if it is not pointing directly inside of the stall, that's still creepy. Now, what they're saying here is that they're doing this because they want to try and catch people and stop vaping or smoking. And in my high school, they used to sell Newports for $5 a pack in the last stall of the bathroom. And all of this transaction would take place inside of the stall. And what they would do to make it seem like that wasn't happening is the person would say, oh man, I ran out of toilet paper. Can you help me with the toilet paper next stall? And somebody would go into the next stall, and then underneath the stalls, completely out of view of the cameras that they put here, they would trade $5 wrapped inside toilet paper for Newports that were, again, wrapped inside toilet paper that they would put in their pocket. Even if you had a 30 megapixel camera, it's not going to be able to actually do that. So then this begs the question of, when these cameras don't actually solve the thing that they're looking to solve, at what point are they then going to normalize the idea of the camera looking a little bit under the stall, so that you can't necessarily see the person's genitals or what they're doing in there, but you can kind of get an idea of whether or not a transaction took place? That's why you don't normalize the idea of this. The biggest problem that I have with the way that surveillance is going nowadays is this is not just a private business thing. It's not just a McDonald's did it. If you don't like it, go to Burger King. The libertarian argument of being able to opt out of it, just go somewhere else, because we're talking about public schools and public education where you can't opt out. And I think one of the biggest problems that I had with public education, both as a child and as an adult, is I remember the entirety of my experience as a kid. It hasn't gone away. I remember how much disrespect was shown to all of us by the aides at the school that just had this attitude that, man, this school would be so great if just not for the kids. They all had this type of attitude, and you would even hear them say it out loud. The disdain that they had for the fact that they had to teach children. The aggravation in their voice as they would rattle off useless trivia and get angry at somebody for being bored when they weren't entertained or interested in what they were explaining. And above all all, the complete lack of interest in whether or not they were doing a good job. Even the crappiest businesses I've dealt with, even if they don't care about it at all, they would just send some sort of survey and ask, hey, what do you think of your experience? Was it good? Was it bad? Even fucking Time Warner or Spectrum Cable does that. And I've never had that experience with a teacher or a principal or a guidance counselor or anybody that had no interest in the quality of my experience, which is why as an adult, I remember that stuff and I don't see the teachers or the administration or the principals as people that are these unique angels that gave up the prospects of having a much higher salary to sacrifice themselves for the sake of the kids. I see it as something different. I see it as you like dealing, in my opinion, with a group of people that cannot opt out of any of your bullshit. If you treat the students poorly, people are just going to blame the kids and say, you have bad behavior or you're just being rowdy in class. And they also don't have the ability to opt out of this surveillance. So it's not just that you're trying to get them used to it as a young age, but you're doing it in an environment where there's literally no way to opt out without getting expelled. If I were to leave the school because I don't want to deal with the bathroom having a camera in it, and I were to go to a Starbucks across the street or some other restaurant or a deli and come back in, because I've left the school without permission and come back, I may get detention, I may get expelled, you may even get arrested for truancy depending on where you are. So there's really no way to legally opt out of this system the way that it was put together. And what I would suggest of all of you, if you are students in these schools, and I realize this is going to be controversial and I just don't care, is that you find a way to disable these camera systems as often as humanly possible, because if you don't do that, then this is going to become normalized. And if there are people in the comments that think that having a camera inside of the bathroom is something that should be normalized, then this should at the very least reinforce how important it is to start doing this. You need to disable these cameras anytime you get the chance to do that. If you are in a public school and your bathroom has a camera in it, that is not okay. And if there's no way for you to disable or stop the camera from functioning, when you go to the bathroom, you ask the teacher to go to the bathroom, you're not going to use the bathroom in your school. You're going to leave the school and find a place that you can go to where there is no camera in the bathroom. And something that you're going to find outside of the school environment where you have no choice. Once you go out there into the normal world in the real market, you'll realize that there are many places where the bathrooms don't have cameras, because if those bathrooms did have cameras, people would choose to not work there or they would choose to not do business there. The only reason that this is occurring is because, in my opinion, kids are the last group of people where we do not give a fuck about them in modern society. If they complain about something, if they're not having a good experience, who cares? They're just being kids. They're just being rowdy. Give them an unsatisfactory on their behavior score and move on to the next one. They're people that need to be molded to the environment rather than the other way around. And as a child, I hated this. And as an adult, I still hate it. And when I would do classes in person, when I would teach on YouTube, when I was doing border pairs from 2014 to 2019 and making educational videos showing you how to do it, I always tried to explain things from the standpoint of I was the kid in class that had somebody who was explaining shit to me who sucked at it and knew they could get away with providing the worst possible experience because they knew that I was forced to be there and they were going to get paid anyway and they couldn't get fired. And I always tried to figure out, how could I make this entertaining and enjoyable for my target audience, because I never wanted the people that were watching my channel or showing up for an in-person seminar or session to ever feel the way that I did in school. I'm just going to reiterate, and I'm repeating myself, but if you see a camera inside of your bathroom in a school, I'm saying this as somebody that I've had some decent success in life. I have a feeling that my way of going, I'm not a criminal. I don't have a criminal record. My teachers, my fourth grade teacher literally made my mother cry by saying that I would not be able to integrate into society properly, and that because I wasn't able to do the things I was needed to do, that I'd never be able to find a real job. Technically, she is correct. I didn't find a real job. I started a business that employs others, where I was able to pay those people more than they were getting paid in their quote normal end quote jobs. I've had several nonprofits. I've got several laws passed. I own my house. And I feel like, I've done pretty damn well for myself, in my opinion. And I am more than happy to tell you that the people in your life that are telling you that you need to get used to this likely have not achieved the level of success or accomplishment that I have. And if they're telling you that this is the way it is, and if you don't do things this way, that life is not going to go well for you, Mrs. Friedland told my parents the exact same fucking thing. And technically, she's correct. I never did get a real job. I would manage to make my own and then hire a bunch of people that get paid more than she does. And I would dare say that every single person that I've hired at this point has had a more positive impact on society than the people that were trying to gaslight me into believing that this non-consensual system is normal, or the way that we were treated within it. Please do not normalize this. The point I'm trying to make here is that what bothers me so much about this system is that so many of the items that we have to care about when people actually have a choice just kind of go away when you're dealing with people that don't have any choice in the matter. And that is the case when we're dealing with kids in public school. And I don't know why this is the point for me where it just boils over. There are so many other points where it should have boiled over based on just the experiences that I had and the experiences that I witnessed my fellow classmates have as kids who were being dealt with by people that were, in my opinion, sociopaths that just hated children. And they just love the idea of having a group of people that they could pick on without ever being held accountable. I don't know why I'm picking this one in particular, but I'm going to pick this one and I'm going to stick to it. And the reason that I am saying all this is not to brag and say that I've done so much better than everybody else. The reason I'm saying this is because when I was in school, there was always this idea that the people that pointed out any of the issues in the system, they'd always get kind of pointed to as the types of people that didn't do well in society. If you want to do well, if you want to get a good job, if you don't want this to go on your permanent record where you're not going to be able to succeed in the real world, then you will do as I say. And I think it's important that people who, I think it is a public service for people who have done well for themselves in life to reiterate to children who were involved in this fucked up experience that they have no way of opting out of, that this is not normal. Demanding that there is not a camera in your bathroom is not an act that is going to lead to you being a failure in life. In fact, it's quite the fucking opposite. Anytime you raise your hand and say, may I use the restroom? And they say yes, walk out of the school and go to a place where there is not a camera. This is not okay. This is not going to accomplish what they want to accomplish. And I hope that you all make it very obvious that you're not going to stand from this at a young age. And if your parents tell you when you go to leave that school and you go to a normal bathroom where there is not a camera in it, if your parents side with the school instead of siding with you because you do not want to be surveilled where you pee, fucking shame on them. See you in the next video. Bye now. Lastly, before I end the video, I just wanted to say thank you very much to everybody who subscribed to the Patreon or became a member on YouTube. I got this email originally in November of 2025. It is August of 2026. I apologize if you have emailed me and I am behind on reading your email or going over this. This person did send me this information over 10 months ago and I haven't gotten the time to get around to it. I have noticed at this point that if I treat this channel as a hobby rather than trying to treat it like a business and scale it, that I will not be able to go over the things that are important to me, and I'm trying to make some changes there. It looks like my Patreon here is up to about $1,150 a month, which is cool, and the YouTube membership page here is up to $300 a month. So this comes out to about $1,500 a month. I don't know what it's going to be after fees. Either way, we are at the point now where I can actually have somebody who on a part-time limited basis helps me with checking my YouTube inbox so that stories that I find to be very interesting do not end up at the bottom of my inbox, sitting there unread for 10 months. So my apologies for not being able to keep up with the frequency of emails. I just want to let you know that I am actually trying to take steps to make what I'm doing here a little bit more scalable. So with the investigations, with the travel, with everything else that I'm trying to do, instead of it just being me doing it by myself and me doing a C to D minus job on each of the things that I actually want to do, I am actually looking into, after 14 years, actually starting to take this stuff a little bit more seriously to where I can have somebody but me working with me, helping me with this stuff. And thank you to the people that kind of pushed me to actually take a shot at actually doing this as something more than a hobby and taking it more seriously. And thank you very much to the people that actually subscribe to the Patreon and the the members feature on YouTube. As you may imagine, when I tell my audience, please use uBlock Origin, combined with content that has been brand unsafe for the entire 14 years that I've had my channel, the CPM that I have often hovers around 50 cents or less, which means if you see a video of mine that gets 100,000 views, that is 50 bucks. And because YouTube is not my primary source of income, because I have a business and other things that I work on, the monetization of the channel has never mattered to me, because I've always just this has been a cathartic release for me. I see something that annoys me, I yell into my camera for 5 or 15 minutes, and then I go about my day, and I have a job, and I have other things that I do in my life that actually make me my living. But I would like to take a stab at actually treating this more seriously in a scalable way, because I don't know what it is. I don't know why now instead of 1 or 5 or 10 or 15 years ago, but there's just so much fucked up shit in the world that there's only so much shit I could go over as one dude. So thank you very much for making it possible for me to get somebody that helps me with looking into issues and also reading my inbox on a part-time basis. I genuinely appreciate it. And that's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. See you in the next video. Bye now.